morning, Red Hawk Nation. Today is Friday, April 5th, and I'm Melody Akbari with today's daily update brought to you by Wingspan TV. There are obvious differences between boys and girls, but sometimes those differences can be magnified when it comes to how parents treat their children. WTV's Remy Williams explains.
Being a teenager can be tough. For the stress of school to social pressure, the teenage years can be trying times. But it can be even more challenging for girls who, like it or not, are often faced with different reality than boys when it comes to their parents and what they can and can't do.
I think that I do have some differing opinions, and I'll apply things differently for them. I'm a little bit more cautious with Leslie than I am with Ryan. And right or wrong, I think it's still an age thing, since she's a few years younger, and it would apply to Christopher as well when he was that same age. But I think even at the same age of 15, I was probably a little bit more open with Ryan and Christopher, maybe because I thought they could protect themselves better, and that I don't think that they're as much under prey as a young girl would be.
For senior Elizabeth Knight, such fears were experienced firsthand.
I was driving my brother to go get gas right after cheer practice, and I went to the QT right there, kind of by the school, and I was just sitting there waiting for him because I told him to go in and give the money, and he was going to go buy something, and I was like, okay. And so I was sitting there waiting for the gas thing to say I could plug it in, and this guy comes up to me, and he stands right in front of me, and he gave me his wallet and pulled out his phone. He was like, "This is who I am, this is my name, and I need you to take me to this place." And I was like, "I'm sorry, sir, I can't do that for you." And he was like, "Oh, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you." And so then all of a sudden he starts bending down and starts pulling my legs out of the car to get me to move, and Charlie, my brother, finally comes running out, and the guy goes away.
But when Knight was again approached by a random guy just a few months ago, she called the police.
I was picking up the kids that I nanny every day, and I needed to get gas again. And I was like, okay, we need to go give the $20 to the people inside, and y'all can go get slushies. So I let them get slushies. I was putting the lids on the slushies, and this guy walks up to the little girl, Alexis, and pokes her on the forehead, and it was like, "Oh, what do you got there?" Because she had a sticker, and she I looked up, and I didn't know who he was or where he came from. And I was like, "Oh, she just gets that when she has a good day at school." And he was like, "Oh, well, are you her mom?" And I was like, no, I'm not. And he was like, "Oh yeah, you look pretty young," and then started asking me all these questions if they went to the school around here, if I went to the school around here, if I lived around here. And so I immediately looked down and started texting my dad. I was like, "Dad, can you come to racetrack? There's a creepy guy here. I don't know what's going on, but I'm scared." And so I walk up to the thing and pay, and he taps me on the shoulder, and he was like, "May I ask how old you are?" And I was like, "I'm 17. And he was like, "You're a beautiful 17-year-old. Would not leave me alone." And so then I turn around and I'm walking out, and I see him right behind me following me to my car. And so I tell the kids, I'm like, "Y'all, we need to run to the car." And I made it really quiet, and then I said out loud, "Last one to the car is a rotten egg," trying to make it sound like we were just trying to get to the car. And then he starts following after us. And so I get in my car, I turn around and I look at him, and I see that he's kind of right there. So I just don't even get the gas, and I go. And so I start driving, and then he gets in his car and follows me. So I'm driving, and I pull into the racetrack, and I'm like, okay, I don't see him, I think I'm all in the clear, and I pull up and I get out to get gas, and then he comes and parks right next to where I was and starts following me to the car, and I was like, oh heck no. So I got in the car again and drove away.
It's the experiences of Knight, or something even worse, that often keeps parents up at night.
The biggest fear about having a teenage daughter is just that she might be naive, and someone might take advantage of her, and she could maybe unwittingly be in some unsafe situations.
This fear often results in parents having different rules based on their kids' genders, something many teenage girls do not like.
It's kind of annoying if they're allowed to do things that I can't, because sometimes they get to go do things by themselves, but I'm always required to go in a group or something.
It's the overprotection that frustrates girls, I think. The stereotype that you can't hold your own, or that you can't do certain things because of the way that we're looked at as a fragile like dainty character.
Today's technology often forces parents to make up rules as they go, as things have changed over the years.
The biggest change has been, I remember as a kid before I drove, we went sun up, and the rule was you had to be home by dark. And we didn't have cell phones. Our parents didn't know where we were. We played in the creek, we ran around all over the neighborhood, and our parents didn't know where we were. As we got older, if we went to a friend's house, we had to call and check in. But we didn't have the technology that we have now, and if you got in trouble, if something was going wrong, you didn't have a way to communicate. So I think having your cell phone with you all the time, making sure it's charged, those are rules that didn't apply to me.
Although the threat was around before cell phones, social media has shed a new light on it.
I think we need to add a few rules that wouldn't have applied to me growing up. Things about social media and things of that nature.
But I also think times have changed, and media's made it more prevalent about all of the predators that are out there.
So much so that parents may treat their daughters differently.
I find myself with her in particular in terms of hanging out with boys or in mixed group company. I tell her to always be very careful, never to feel pressured to be in a room alone with a boy or anything like that. And it's interesting because I never had that same kind of commentary with either of the boys just because I didn't think that it was necessary.
Like not allowed to be a delivery driver or like run by myself, but I have friends, like I don't, but I have friends that carry pepper spray. My parents always tell me that like if I'm walking to my car from a building that I can't have earbuds in, and that once I get in my car that I need to lock the doors even before I start the engine, and that like we have locks on all of our doors. I mean, normal stuff, but also like stuff that's specifically to me and not my brother, just because, I don't know, I feel like they worry about me a lot more.
Strader feels that the different set of rules are frustrating.
There's a big feminism movement to like say that women are strong, and we are, but I think it's more than just like everybody believing that we're strong. I think it's making our streets safer, like from predators and different people that like could hurt us potentially.
Reporting for WTV, I'm Remy Williams.
On this week's edition of Real Talk, WTV's Jennifer Hernandez hits the halls to ask students about parents having different rules based on gender.
This is WTV's Jennifer Hernandez with this week's edition of Real Talk. Parents usually have different rules for their children because of their gender. Today we're going to hit the halls and ask students if they can relate. Do your parents treat you differently than your brother?
Yes, because I'm a girl and younger than him, so they are more protective of me.
Do your parents treat you and your brother differently?
I don't think so. I think like they did raise us the same way, but they gave Josh a little more like independency and stuff. I feel like he got to kind of experience the world first, and then I kind of like follow his steps kind of thing. But I think for the most part we were raised the same way.
Do your parents treat you and your sister differently?
No, because we're different ages or whatever, so we get treated equally.
How do your parents treat you differently than your brother?
When I'm going out, my brother usually gets to go a lot more than I do, and if I'm taking out other guys, my parents also think the wrong instead of my brother hanging out with other girls.
Do your parents treat you and your brother differently?
Well, he's younger, and like an example is that I wasn't allowed to have social media until this year, but he just turned 14 and they allowed him to get Instagram, even though I wasn't allowed until now, so.
Do your parents treat you and your sister differently?
Yes.
How?
They're a whole lot stricter with me just because, one, I'm still in high school, and two, because my dad expects a lot different from me than my sister.
This has been WTV's Jennifer Hernandez with this week's edition of Real Talk.
Athletes on campus took part in signing day this morning. WTV's Carter Brock has the story.
Family, coaches, and teammates gathered in the lecture hall this morning to celebrate the signing day of 4 students. Gavin Clark signed to play soccer at University of Mary Hardin-Baylor. CJ Nelson signed to play soccer at UT Dallas. Sinai Ford signed to run track at Oklahoma State. And Ashley Pennington signed to play volleyball at Texas A&M Commerce. Each senior's respective coach said a little bit about the player.
He brings that passion to practices. He brings that passion to games. It's good having players on the field that are vocal, communicate, things like that, direct traffic. I had to move him around a lot this year, try him out in different spots to kind of shore things up. But you did a great job. CJ is kind of the quiet field general. He's one of those players that leads by doing. You're always going to get a great example from CJ. He's going to go out. He's going to do exactly what needs to be done. The growth of CJ from freshman year through senior year was pretty extraordinary. He's had skill and he's had speed, but he started, putting things together over time.
And I's always had that passion and love for track, but it's really shown this past year. She's just really dedicated herself to the sport through the off season, in her summer track, and her indoor track, and in the weight room. All through off season, she has really dedicated herself, and it has shown through this season. And she's had such an incredible season. Yesterday, at our district track meet, she competed in 4 events and took home 2 golds and 2 silvers. So we're incredibly proud of her, but the best part is her season isn't over, and we have about a month left to keep celebrating her. So we're so excited for her. I can't wait to see what you do at Oklahoma State University, and we're going to keep cheering you on along the way.
Ashley has been a member of the varsity volleyball team for 4 years, 3 and not enough. If her coach had been smarter, she had moved her up a little bit faster. Her freshman year, she ended up finishing her career with 96 wins, and has just been a general on the court for the whole time.
For Wingspan TV, I'm Carter Brock.
WTV Sports brings you a look at what's happening in campus athletics.
Track finished up the district meet yesterday. There are numerous runners and field athletes who finished in the top 4 of their event and are advancing to area. Notable finishes come in the girls' long jump, where senior Sinai Ford took the gold. The boys' 4x200 relay took first place as well. The girls' mile relay took second, and the girls' track team as a whole was a runner-up for the entire event. The area meet is on Tuesday, April 16th. Tennis also played in their district matches, with Sarvesh Ram and Yatin Pokle taking home the title of boys double champions. Golf also competed in the district tournament. The boys team did not advance to the Region 2 tournament, and the girls team came in 3rd place, 1 stroke away from moving on to the regional tournament. Notable finishes come from sophomore Riley Davidson, who came in 3rd place and is advancing as a medalist. Baseball competes tonight against a Wakeland team that is yet to lose in district. The team is coming off an extra inning loss to the Wolverines on Tuesday. Despite a 4-game losing streak, playoffs are not out of the picture. It is a home game for the Redhawks with the first pitch at 7:30. The Redhawks also have a game tomorrow at 10 a.m. against Frisco. Softball plays on Saturday as well. The team is currently out of the playoff hunt following a loss to Memorial on Monday. Softball is looking for their 3rd district win against Lone Star. It is also a home game for the Redhawks, with play beginning at 10 a.m. For WTV Sports, I'm Davis O'Brien.
If you are looking for more from Wingspan, you can follow us at Liberty Wingspan on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our award-winning website, libertywingspan.com. WTV's Wade Glover has today's announcements.
Prom tickets are now on sale on My Payments Plus. If you are bringing a non-Liberty guest, please fill out the form that is attached to My Payments Plus. All guests must be under 21 years old.
That's it for today's daily update. This has been Melody Akbari for Wingspan TV.